Chapter 171 Shizun, Rufeng Sect has fallen. Nangong Liu was backed into a corner. He could only wheedle, There, of course I care for you, but this matter requires careful consideration. Let's do as we agreed. First, as sect leader, you'll announce that Jiangdong Hall will come under the auspices of Rufeng Sect. After the two sects are merged, I won't! Liangji exclaimed, the rims of her eyes red. Back then, I trusted you. And what happened? You turned around and married Rong Yan. I won't settle this time. Give me a definite answer. Will you marry me or not? She watched him hesitate. She grew even angrier. Nangong Liu, how long are you going to beat around the bush? She growled. I killed my husband with my own hands. All of us. But you? Don't you even have the guts to nod? At this point, everyone watching gasped in horror. Chu Chengyang was no exception. He murmured to Madame Wang, She murdered Jiangdong Hall's former sect leader? Within the space of minutes, Jiangdong Hall, too, had fallen from grace. The previous sect leader was dead, but many of his subordinates remained in the sect, including two of his brothers. They flew at Liangji, holding nothing back. You killed Dage? How could you? Even if he was a decade older than you. He treated you so well. You poisonous woman. Return my brother's life. Fighting broke out on one side, while the blazing inferno raged on the other. Shocking scenes unfolded from the broken scroll, one by one. In the brilliant glow, painfully sordid events, never meant to see the light of day, were barred before the world. Nor were these affairs limited to Rufeng Sect. Nearly all the sects of the upper cultivation realm were implicated. Countless renowned figures and major cultivators, all gathered at Rufeng Sect for the wedding, appeared in the leaping flames. After Jiangdong Hall followed Wubei Temple, Hu Huang Pavilion, and Bitan Manor. Even the lofty, untouchable Kunlun Tashur Palace received this treatment. Major scandals involving senior disciples and elders lit up the night sky. Nangong Shu supplemented his own memories with the memories of others that he had collected from far afield, displaying them all starkly before the crowd. There was even an old record of Nangong Liu scheming with the previous sect leader of Wubei Temple, Master Tianchan. Great Master, the spiritual mountain competition is tomorrow. I must come out on top. My father already thinks I'm stupid. If I yield to my younger brother's sword in the competition, I really have no future as sect leader. Nangong Shichu needn't panic. Have you mastered all the techniques in the scroll this old monk gave you before? I have. Master Tianchan twirled his beard and smiled. Then you have nothing to worry about. Just focus your efforts on executing the techniques from that scroll, and your little brother won't stand a chance. Still confused, Nangong Liu replied, This humble one is slow-witted and begs Master to explain more clearly. That cultivational scroll contains secret techniques your brother Nangong Shu himself invented. He diligently poured his blood, sweat and tears into refining them in order to make a name for himself at the spiritual mountain competition. Nangong Liu was taken aback. If Chu Di created these techniques, how can I use them to defeat him? Master Tianchan's lips curved in a small smile. Nangong Shu is arrogant. After developing these techniques, he shunned his sectmates and holed himself up in a cave to train day and night. Even if he claims himself as the originator of these techniques, who would believe him? Nangong Liu stared. But you're different, Nangong Shichu. Master Tianchan continued, serene. 4 of Tashur Palace's elders and I will serve as the judges. As long as we attest that we witnessed you master these techniques, and you insist that you acquired them through your own meticulous study, then it matters not how eloquent your little brother's claims. His reputation will bear the stain of stealing his older brother's cultivational techniques. Once his name is tarnished, and he is criticized by all, he'll never escape his fate. Even if he wins the competition, what use will it be? I see. Nangong Liu's eyes widened, as if he'd suddenly seen the light. He cupped his fists in his hand respectfully. Many thanks to the Great Master for his guidance. Once this humble one rises to power, I will assuredly pledge an alliance with the Great Master. In the future, Rufeng Sect and Wu Bei Temple will enjoy centuries of friendship. That long scroll tumbled onward, illuminating the night and gouging wounds for everyone to see, and to all whom Shu Shuanglin loathed, and who'd wronged him. The great blazing images even lured a handful of commoners from around Rufeng Sect, who joined the cultivators in watching these hidden scandals that were like foul lice swarming beneath sumptuous robes. When the rift to the ghost realm had opened, Shu Shuanglin had said with a brilliant smile, "I'd like to destroy every single one of your hearts." Only now did they understand what he'd meant. Under the name of the Shuanglin Elder, Nangong Shu had been hibernating within Rufeng Sect for years. He hadn't merely planned to destroy Rufeng Sect's 72 cities and centuries of prestige. He intended to destroy every person he detested, everyone who had turned their backs on him, blackened his name, and forced him onto a path of no return, all for their own selfish gain. His elder brother, Nangong Liu, had been only the first head to roll on these sacrificial grounds of vengeance. Not one among the parade of sect leaders and elders who followed him could escape the fires of judgment. It didn't matter who they were, as long as they had offended Shu Shuanglin. Standing amidst that endless night pierced by flames, Chuaning recalled the young man from Luo Xianxian's memory. That young man, covered in blood, who had grinned as he said, "There was a man from Linyi whose heart died at 20. A young man with unparalleled spiritual talent, an exceptional prodigy who'd never been afforded a fair chance, who had been schemed against, conspired against, and pushed away by his own family. The techniques he'd poured his heart into had been stolen, and the people who'd stolen them levied false accusations against him, calling him the thief. The kind of absurdity that was. His heart died at 20. When they'd met Shu Shuanglin via his white chess pieces at Jincheng Lake and Peach Blossom Springs, he'd said he was a ghost who'd crawled out of hell to demand the blood of the living. Chuaning watched the chaotic scene before him. The sects of the upper cultivation world had fallen into complete disarray. The saying, "monkeys scatter when the tree falls," applied to more than just Rufeng Sect. Shu Shuanglin had used the latter half of his life as dry tinder to kindle this fire of vengeance, and he'd succeeded. A massive explosion rocked Rufeng Sect's 7th city, the Shadow City. Purple fire streaked toward the sky, so bright the onlookers closed their eyes against it. Ye Wangshi's sword-straight brows immediately drew together. This is bad. She had already turned her sword toward the Shadow City when Nangong Si grabbed her. Within this brief interval, his haughty features had grown haggard. He seemed on the verge of collapse. Yet still, he gripped Ye Wangshi's shoulder tightly and rasped, "Don't go. The demonic spirits under the Golden Drum Tower will escape. Rufeng Sect suppressed thousands of spirits there over the centuries. If they manage to break the seals and come into the world..." Ye Wangshi trailed off, shuddering with fear. "What can you do if you go?" Nangong Si said, Ye Wangshi, you've done enough for Rufeng Sect." Gaze distant, Nangong Si raised a hand as if to wipe a speck of mud from Ye Wangshi's cheek. But in the end, he aborted the gesture. "Don't waste your energy," he said. "Securing Golden Drum Tower requires the combined strength of the sect leader and 10 elders. To go alone would be a death sentence." "I know, but still..." Ye Wangshi paused, her expression full of pain. "Even if it's suicide, how can I do nothing? If Golden Drum Tower falls and those spirits descend upon the land, everyone will blame Rufeng Sect. You. Do you think if the Golden Drum Tower remains standing, Rufeng Sect will escape blame? Nangongsi laughed, the blood at the corner of his mouth lending a bleakness to his smile. Don't be stupid. Rufeng Sect is lost. But you need to stay alive, okay? I really... Nangongsi closed his eyes, his lashes trembling, and his voice sticking in his throat. I really don't want anyone else to die for this sect. It's not worth it. Lit by the surging flames, Ye Wangxi stared fearfully at Nangongsi. She was still considering her reply when she heard the rumble of a tower collapsing from the direction of the Shadow City. She turned to see thousands of brilliant streaks of white flying from the lofty Golden Drum Tower. They split in all directions, vanishing into the fathomless night. All the color drained from Ye Wangxi's face. Golden Drum Tower is falling. With a thunderous boom, the ground beneath their feet began to split. As the spirits crowded for centuries beneath Golden Drum Tower returned to walk the earth, a blinding beam of blood-red light coalesced to form a colossal fish with a tail like a crimson lotus in bloom. With an earth-shattering roar that shook the leaves on trees 1,000 miles away, the huge fish sped toward the East Sea. In an instant, the magnificent tower exploded into 1,000,000 tile fragments. The giant demon's slipstream bowled over a number of cultivators, flying too close to the tower on their swords. They tumbled into the apocalyptic fire and were burned to ash before they could open their mouths to scream. What was that? The gun! Another listener took offense at this, clutching their own sword tightly against the force of the gale. They snapped. What do you mean again? Isn't the monster enough? Who said again? I said the gun. The fiercest beast from ancient times. Legend has it that Rufeng Sect's first leader, Nangong Changyin, made the East Sea surrender that monstrous gun to him, then built Golden Drum Tower to imprison it. Who would have thought? Who would have thought the legend was actually true? Although the ferocious beast had escaped, it had yet to fully recover its strength. Wary of cultivators, after being trapped beneath Golden Drum Tower for centuries, it fled toward the East Sea with all haste, leaving billowing gusts in its wake. The consequences were disastrous. Apocalyptic fire soared scores of feet higher as the winds fanned the flames. Areas previously untouched by the blaze instantly began to burn. Zhu Chengyong was a veteran on the battlefield. He immediately cried at the top of his lungs, "Run! Everybody run!" Shards of brick rained down around him as he sent the iron fan carrying himself and Madame Wang skimming out of the conflagration. The remaining cultivators fled in every direction. Some, like Qi Liangji, caught up in a vicious, unrelenting battle with elders from her own sect, were unable to react in time and were swallowed by the flames. Or perhaps they had no desire to do so. Even as the inferno overwhelmed them, their eyes, glinting with hatred, were still riveted on their opponents. Just like that, they vanished into ash. Nangongsi leapt onto Nao Baijin's back and held out a hand to Ye Wangxi. "Get up here, hurry!" He turned to look at Shiwaning nearby. "Zongshi, you too." "It'll be too heavy. Go ahead." "But..." Moran made a decision on the spot. "Go!" he cried to Nangongsi. "I carry Shizun out on my sword." The great fire was drawing nearer, flames speeding toward them in leaps and bounds. Nangongsi swore under his breath and wrapped his arms around Ye Wangxi to secure her form from behind. The two astride the Fable's back quickly dwindled to nothing in the vast darkness. Trees toppled one after another. The tangerine grove emitted loud popping noises as it burned, the unexpected sweetness of citrus filling the air. There was no time to waste. Moran summoned his oath-bound sword and fled with Chuaning toward lands the Inferno had yet to reach. Behind them, Rufeng Sect in all its centuries of glory, the epitome of the elite, privileged and upper class, suffered the same fate as its soaring colonnades and magnificent grassy fields. Amidst the surging tide of flames, it perished in the course of a single night.